Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Going Rogue, our weekly Star Wars show on this channel and podcast feed. I'm Andrew Dimalanta.
And I'm Nicki Dimalanta.
And of course, rocking the hat because,
Dirty hair?
No, not dirty hair. It's just, it's getting out of control, and Corona just doesn't seem to know what summer break is.
Andrew's got luxurious hair. I don't know what he's ever talking about.
It's out of control. It's out of control.
Okay.
And also, I didn't feel like doing it. But
and welcome to my life. Not that I ever actually do anything to mine, but it's another topic for another time.
Yeah, I decided to wear it because I love this hat, and I don't very often get to wear it.
Yeah.
Because, I never leave the house anymore.
It's a cute hat.
Yeah, I like it. But anyways, we have a little bit of news to go over this week with first part. You probably won't have anything to talk about on it, but
Clone Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Related to Clone Wars, so the Lucasfilm and Disney came out and said that the next animated project that they're doing for Disney Plus is the Bad
Batch.
We have to put that out now.
No, I'm not going to lie. I'm one of many people out there that when I first saw that, I was like, oh, who is she?
No, but it is the animated series based off of the group of clones that got introduced in the 7th season of Clone Wars. God, we are just clumsy today. Sorry to our audio listeners.
It's getting to the point where I almost knock over a glass every podcast now. It's getting to that point.
just what? That's why I put mine way
over here.
That's why I put mine way over. Put it all the way over there. Yeah. See out of your whatever. Anyways.
My radius.
Sorry, off track already. And Ben Gotter's not even here.
Wouldn't you? It's crazy.
But it's based off of that group of they're an elite squad of clones that they have special skills. Each of them, they're called the Bad Batch. They have desired mutations. That they're breeded.
They're like X-Men, but for Star Wars.
Yes, to a point. I said I equated them to like the Special Operations Foxhound of the Star Wars universe.
That's my language.
Yeah, that Well, they seemed like the Foxhound because they go on special missions. They really don't answer to anybody but the higher ups in the Clone Wars. But with this news, it's the next project that Dave Filoni is executive producer on. It's an anime series, obviously, but it's going to take place after the Clone Wars, and right as the Empire is starting to take shape. And from what I understand from the article that I read, that it's right after the Clone Wars, and now they're sort of they go on these mercenary missions, and I'm really interested in this because it seemed like Lucasfilm kind of wanted to going back in the timeline, before Clone Wars, before. The Phantom Menace. It's I want to see new eras, and they're sort of giving that to us now, but it's in between the Clone Wars episode, so it's in between episode 3 and episode 4 is where this timeline happens. But I'm interested in seeing what type of missions are they going on, because were they affected by Order 66? Do they have because they're a different breed of clone? Maybe they didn't have the inhibitor chips in them. What type of missions are they going on? Are they even connected to the Empire? Well, they are, because they said never mind. They said that they are going on missions for the Empire, mercenary missions. So I'm interested to see what this brings, because it's do they go on these maybe there's this high profile Jedi that got away from Order 66, and they're all right, get them. We need the Bad Batch on this because they're the elite of the elite, basically. I would like to see maybe this is the 501st already existed before that. So, but I don't know. I mean, do you have any thoughts on this?
Do they have a look to them?
I mean, if you watch,
do they all look like?
They have the base look of of Timur Morrison and Jango Fett.
Yes,
you can tell it, but they have sort of variations to them. The leader of the Bad Batch, he looks like Solid Snake. He basically looks like Solid Snake.
So, would you be able to look at anybody in the Bad Batch and be like, "Oh, that's Bad Batch. That's not a regular clone."
Yeah, no,
because that'll be fun to see in Celebration.
Oh, yeah.
That's my thought. It'll be fun to see Bad Batches walking around. I'm a Bad Batch. You know what I'm saying?
No, but what type of do you have any interest in seeing this series? Because it's because it's hard for you to jump into Clone Wars because there's 7 seasons of it. There's so many episodes. Resistance you can get through in maybe a weekend.
Is it like Clone Wars style animation?
I don't know. they might jump away from that animation style. I would like to see a different animation style because, well, no, because Resistance and Clone Wars they're similar, but they have their differences.
I'm interested to see what the anime, and not that animation's a make or break for me, but I'm just interested to see what it would look like.
Resistance was a big old departure from Clone Wars because it's more of like an anime style, like homage to anime. Just because it happens with characters that are established in the Clone Wars, I would almost say they would have to look almost like Clone Wars.
That's the way it looks in my head.
Yeah, because we've already been introduced to them in the Clone Wars. Whoa, there's like a speeder outside. Sorry about that, guys. There it goes.
People in this neighborhood gotta have their loud vehicles for some reason. So
I got a swoop bike. Listen to me.
Listen how cool I am.
Sorry, but I think this is very interesting. Is it my first choice for animated series? Not really, but I was maybe speculating maybe a book or comic book run on these guys.
I'm sure there will be.
I mean, there will be now that they're getting their own animated series.
Yeah.
I don't see them going. They might maybe like an origin story for the Bad Batch, maybe a novel. But I'm excited for it. I did enjoy the Bad Batch for when they were in like 2-3 episodes. I think it was 3 episodes, 4 episodes. I can't remember.
It was 3.
Was it 3? But I'm interested in seeing it nonetheless. And it's going to be a big old paycheck for D. Bradley Baker because he voices all of them.
Oh yeah. Good for him.
Good for him. He's going to get a big old payday because it's going to be a one-man show, basically.
Man. What a good gig.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. But
yeah,
anyways,
no, I don't really have many thoughts on that.
Yeah, but I'm excited for it. I mean, anything Star Wars, I'm excited for.
I wonder if you can just jump right in or if people are drag racing in our neighborhood right now. Oh, my God. I just wonder if it's the kind of thing where you can just jump right in or do you need to have watched...
I think you know maybe at least watch a 7th season with the ones that they're in. They might jump back and forth. I'm not sure. They might give you like a TLDR basically of like, hey, this is where we're from. This is who we are. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm sorry for our audio.
I doubt you can hear it, but wow, people are really going bananas outside.
I heard it from your mic. I was like,
really?
Yeah. Oh. So sorry about that, guys.
Can you guys hear that?
But anyways, so the next piece of news that I want to touch on, you probably have more to say on this, is that Alden Ehrenreich was interviewed by some podcasts, and he's saying he's interested. Jesus, I'll cut this out. I don't know, but anyways, so Alden Ehrenreich was interviewed, and he said that he's interested in playing Han Solo again. It just depends on timing's right, if the story's right for the telling, and he says he's more interested in playing Han for Disney Plus.
Like a series as opposed to a second movie?
Yeah, like maybe a mini series, maybe just. God, I'm sorry, guys. Straight to like maybe just like a on-demand movie, not so much theatrical. But if it's gonna be on Disney Plus, I imagine it'll be a mini series, maybe like a 4-episode short type of deal thing.
Yeah. I'm interested.
I think because I thought he did a very good job for
I
what
liked
he was
Solo.
Giving. Yeah.
One thing that I don't remember who, I don't know if it was, I'm assuming it was talking to you, because who else would I be talking to?
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember where this came up, but it was kind of like, well, Alden Ehrenreich, when he,
always spell his name wrong, by the way.
EHRENRI. No. EHRENREICH. We'll fact check that later.
We'll fact check it later. But if it ever comes up in the Schmodown match, I'm definitely spelling it wrong.
Well, you do the best you can. As long as you get the last letter, you're good.
It's a hard name to spell.
But somebody was saying, and I'm assuming it was you, maybe it was Ben when we were talking to him one time. I don't friggin' know. But, when he gets cast for Solo, it's kind of like, it's huge shoes to fill. But at least you're kind of Han before he really became Han.
Yeah.
And if there ever was like another movie after that, it's kind of like, oh, well, now what are you going to do? You're just going to try to be a carbon copy of Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And he could kind of at least take a few liberties here and there in Solo, but the further you get into Han's story, the more you have to become Harrison Ford's Han Solo.
Yeah.
So that would be my only I wonder how he would manage and navigate that.
And maybe that's what this, if it does happen, and from what I'm reading in the article, it's like it's an option. They're definitely maybe exploring it.
I'm into it.
I'd be into
I enjoyed
it because
Solo.
one of those comments was yeah, it's not the Han Solo we know from A New Hope. He gets a little jaded after Kira like abandons him on Severine, and he's like, all right, well, I guess I can't trust anybody. And like, I think it'd be interesting to see from that point to the point we meet him in A New Hope. Now there's all this like, now we have to see him almost and become sort of transition into the Harrison Ford Han Solo, because he's not at the end of Solo. He's not the Harrison Ford Han Solo, absolutely not. There's still, I believe it's like 10 years before we see him in A New Hope.
That's plenty of content.
That's plenty of time to, because I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago.
Heck no, who is?
Exactly. Like
if you are, then what are you doing?
Yeah,
Go
I know.
live.
Like people change over time. I mean, you're never really the person you are until you're like, at least in your late 20s.
Yeah.
Early 30s.
Late
Even
20s.
then you have room to change. So 10 years is a big gap. And like maybe something happens in between those 10 years that, gets him a little bit more like, oh, I really can't trust anybody. Only my Chewbacca like Wookiee co-pilot is the only person that I can trust.
Yeah.
So maybe something happens, and like, and I have my problems with Solo, but the more I watch it again, it's like it's a fun movie. It's got its downfalls. I feel like they're just checking boxes as you go, but the more you dig deep, and the more like the humor really hits for me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested in seeing him return to Han Solo, because just to see him as one movie, it's like, that's not Han Solo. Get him out of here.
Yeah. He was in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, I think give him more time for the audience to warm up to him. Give him a little bit more stories to shape him into the Harrison Ford Han Solo. I think people will warm up to him.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. But
I'm into it.
I'd be into it. But I think so. The main topic of tonight. Let's go ahead and transition to the main topic. Is
yes. I have a lot to say here.
Yes. So I'm interested to see what you have to say, because I threw this at you and you're like, ooh, let me get back to you on that.
Yeah, I kind of wish he only told me. I should have asked him earlier today what we were talking about, but only about an hour ago he was like, by the way, this is what we're talking about. I'm like, oh no,
don't tell him the secret.
There's so much to think about here. So I did my best. I wrote some notes.
Yeah. So the main topic of tonight for this show is, who has the more tragic story, Anakin Skywalker or his grandson Ben Solo?
And for fun, I don't know what Andrew's pick is, and he don't know what mine is. So we'll work our way to it, and we'll make a big reveal to each other.
I like that. So yeah, because it seems like the story of the Skywalkers is tragic. You can throw Luke in there, but I think comparing the two Skywalkers would have to be Anakin Skywalker and Ben Solo. Even he is a Skywalker, even though his last name isn't Skywalker. Yeah. Because it's two of the bloodline that fell to the dark side and were able to come back from it. Spoiler alert, sorry. But let's go ahead and just dive right into it, because you have to start with like Anakin Skywalker's story, because
y'all ready for this?
Yeah, because his story starts really young.
So I'm going to say things that I wrote down.
I saw that swipe and like, geez, that's a lot of notes.
Yeah, it is, baby.
Okay, so let's start with Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, so I'm going to throw things out there. Hopefully I mean, it's obviously, horrendously shortened, because there's only like, a billion movies that this happens over in tons of years. So I tried to hit like, big, terrible stuff. So let's see.
It is a tragedy.
Let's see if I missed anything. Because I kind of wanted to like see their timeline side by side, at least how they played out in my mind. Yeah. Anakin Skywalker. We meet him when he's a young boy. He's 9. He's barely done crapping his pants. You know what I'm saying? He's been a slave all 9 years of his life. His whole life, he's known nothing but being a slave. I don't know why I said it that way. Slave. A little crazy little
9 years up until he's 9.
My whole life. How long have you been a pilot? My whole life. Yeah, all 9 years.
All 9 years of it. You've been okay. Whatever.
He was a little slave. So yeah, he was a slave. His whole little 9. I don't know why I keep looking down there. His whole 9 years of life, he gets the chance to leave and be freed. Leaves his mom behind. Leaves her knowing that she's not going to be liberated, and he's leaving her as a slave. Leaving mom at 9 years old. No dad figure. His only person that he has is mom, and he's got to leave her, knowing that he's leaving her to a life of slavery. leaves to be trained as a Jedi, only to just be constantly, the older he gets, haunted by dreams of his mom.
Yeah.
Eventually leads to him going back to his mom. Mom dies in his own arms.
Yeah.
So that's horrendous.
Yeah. And before you even get to that, I think it'd be not nice, but like we can't gloss over the fact that
I probably missed something in there, huh?
The whole, because Filoni went on a rant on this and that a whole Mandalorian gallery thing of like they call it the Duel of the Fates.
Oh yeah.
About how Qui-Gon is his father figure when he leaves his mom, but since Qui-Gon dies, as he's being taken from his mom, now he has this father figure that he's looking up to.
Yeah.
And then he dies. And then not out of his own goodness of his own heart, as an obligation to Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan takes over.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess I'll take this kid.
I guess it's not even that.
It like begrudgingly almost takes him.
Almost, because it's like he does the best he can. And
yeah.
He trains his kid as best he can, but not as a father figure, more as a mentor.
Brother
as a brother, and they say as much at the end of Revenge says like, you're my brother. So it's like it's this tension of like he's not really a father figure, and that's what Anakin needed.
Yeah.
And as soon as he gets that figure, it's taken away from him.
Yeah.
So that can add to the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, his mom dies in his arms. Mm-hmm. He is understandably upset. Mm-hmm. Kills an entire village of men, women, and children, and also their dogs, basically.
Yeah.
Only later on obviously it's like horrendous to have gone through that. Mm-hmm. Eventually, now he just becomes haunted by dreams of Padme dying.
Yeah.
So now he's got that going on.
His secret wife.
Yeah. Secret baby mama wife. Yeah. And, along this time, he crosses paths with arguably the most evil man in the galaxy, mm-hmm. who senses his power and mm-hmm. only wants to exploit him. And, Anakin's kind of got this complex about him where he kind of, he's young, he's kind of arrogant, he's kind of sensitive. Mm-hmm. I know he's been through some stuff, but, he was also kind of, mm-hmm. and he felt unappreciated by the Jedi Council, and those feelings are preyed upon by Palpatine, mm-hmm. and it's almost like he feels like his feelings being validated. He's like, yeah, this guy's pointing it out too. It must be right. Mm-hmm. They really don't appreciate me. They really don't trust me. Mm-hmm. And I remember learning about something in school, mm-hmm. Like a psychology type term. And I think it's called like a self-actualizing reality or something like that, mm-hmm. to where you come up with something in your brain and through your own actions, you almost kind of manifest what you thought was going on, but wasn't.
Yeah.
But through your own actions, you kind of make it a thing.
Yeah.
So he always kind of assumed and was suspicious.
Based off from his own point of view.
From his own point of view and his own kind of insecurities. Palpatine sees that, exploits it, and thus through Anakin's own actions and listening to Palpatine, mm-hmm. they do start to become suspicious of him. They do start to not trust him. Yeah. And it does become the reality.
And you brought this up while we were watching, what was it? I think it was Revenge. Yeah, it's Revenge of the Sith when he calls Anakin to his office and he's like, I'm going to appoint you to be my personal representative of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
And you pointed it out. And I've always like glossed over this and never really picked it out. But you're like, he says, I need your help, son. You're like, that is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, because again, Anakin needs a father figure, and this person that he's probably the closest to, mm-hmm. besides his secret wife,
it's just so subtle.
Is calling him son. It's like it's so subtle.
Brilliant.
Wow, that's great. I've never even thought of it that way.
Yeah, so, it's a brilliant moment.
Yeah,
it's a heartbreaking and brilliant moment because mm-hmm. Palpatine is just king puppet master.
Yeah.
So he's constantly being influenced by Palpatine, always being poked and prodded. Mm-hmm. And in a very, very tense moment, mm-hmm. he makes the decision because Palpatine's making him all these promises. You can save the people you love if you listen to me.
Yeah.
So in a very tense moment, he makes the decision to kill a Jedi, mm-hmm. surrender to Palpatine in hopes that he can save the woman he loves. Mm-hmm. So he pledges himself to Palpatine and still kind of sort of thinks he's doing the right thing because mm-hmm. I guess he thinks that saving Padme is enough to make him think that he's not evil yet.
Yeah.
Padme she hears about all the stuff he's been into and who everyone he's been killing and stuff.
Yeah.
She tries to convince him to run away with her. He realizes Obi-Wan's with her. He thinks that they're in cahoots with each other.
Cahoots.
And they're trying, that Obi-Wan turned her against him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just also very ironic that he's like doing all this stuff to save Padme and then he like chokes her out. Like, bro, that's not how you save a pregnant woman.
Yeah, seriously.
Or any woman.
Yeah.
Or anybody. If you want to save him, first step is not to choke him. That's probably a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that, it leads to him fighting to almost the death, almost to death with his best friend and brother, Obi-Wan. He's basically left for dead.
Yeah.
Right? He goes through a grueling surgery with no anesthesia because that just feeds into his anger, right?
Yeah.
Padme dies. Palpatine manipulates him further and tells him, yeah, bro, that was you.
Yeah, it was you
that did that.
Yeah.
Even though he did indirectly, but I guess he basically was leading him to believe that you did it. You know what I'm saying? So he thinks he did it, and he doesn't even at that point realize his kid's born. Thinks he only got one kid. He doesn't even think his kid's born, thinks his kid died. So he thinks he lost everyone. Fast forward several years. I'm sure I'm forgetting something in the meantime, but later, he finds out about Luke, tries to entice him to the dark side. He resists. And during the resistance, and during Luke's resistance to him, he learns about Leia. So he's like, oh, I got 2 kids now. So finds out
are the father.
Finds out he's got 2 kids, and watches his son get tortured horribly in front of him. But Luke's compassion and I don't want to say purity, but just his goodness ends up saving Anakin so we can have one last redeeming moment, and his last act of goodness ends up saving his son and kills him.
Yeah.
So that's in a very small nutshell.
The
tragedy of
Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin Skywalker.
And like for me, like Anakin's story is, I mean, I get why it goes from, because I always like, why don't we pick Anakin up when he's at least a teenager? But I get what George is going through. It's like the purity of a child can be twisted into pure evil. Where was I going with this? But it is. There's so many tragic moments with him. It's like he leaves his mom at 9, knowing he probably won't see her ever again.
Although thinking he will save her.
Yeah, and then when he does get to see her again, she immediately dies in his own arms.
She's not in good shape. Who would ever want to see their mom in that kind of condition?
Exactly. And then not only that, then that scars him, and furthermore, he's being haunted by, I'm going to lose my wife now, the woman I love. So he does everything in his power to try to prevent this. Yeah. And in doing so is ending up the cause of what he feared most. Yeah. So he's the cause. So like it's just a tragic story. I mean,
and it's a self-actualizing reality.
Yeah, exactly.
He was terrified of losing her, and he ended up losing her because he was being an idiot.
And there's so many like rabbit holes we don't go down here. It's like sometimes his lesson is that he can't seem to let go of things. Yeah. He's so attached to things, and that's his biggest flaw. Is he can't let go. Yeah. And if you learn to let go, maybe his wife, he wouldn't have to be burdened with this pain of losing his wife. Maybe if he learned to let go.
You just said something that made me think of something for Kylo Ren.
Yeah. But yeah,
okay, I'm gonna jot that down so I don't forget.
But yeah, that's the biggest takeaway that I get from the tragedy of Anakin is learn to let go. Learn, like you're so enwrapped in like, I need to hold on to this because it's the only thing I know. It's the only thing that I care about. It's the thing that I want to hold on to. And if you just learn to let go, it's like not everything is permanent. Yeah. Nothing is absolutes. Winky for my audience member, for my audio listeners. But like, if you just learn to know that someday I'm gonna have to let this go and prepare myself for that, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Yeah. So that's my takeaway from the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker and the lessons we learned from those tragedies. Yeah. So let's move on to the other Skywalker, the one that we're comparing, who has the more tragic story with Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren. So when we do first meet him,
he's a full-on adult.
He's already Kylo Ren. We don't know. We've never known him as Ben Solo. We get a glimpse of him, of who he used to be. We get stories of who he used to be, but passing stories. We never really see Ben Solo. I mean, you can go dive in deep into like canon books, like the Aftermath trilogies. We get a little bit of him in that Solo Lando book. We get glimpses of 2-year-old Ben Solo running around. In the novelization of Rise of Skywalker, we get a little bit more of baby Ben Solo of Chewbacca, Uncle Chewbacca, as he called him.
Adorable.
Uncle Chewie, yeah. He has this hollow of him holding him. It's adorable. I don't know, no idea why that wasn't in the movie. It would have broke my heart if that was. Yeah, he calls him Uncle Chewie. Ben Solo called Chewbacca Uncle Chewie.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, anyways,
wow.
So when we first meet Ben Solo,
I want like a Calvin and Hobbes type like comic strip of like baby Ben Solo and Chewbacca. Like, oh god, wow, that just really hit my heart. That was cute.
Yeah.
All right, so on to his tragedy. So Kylo Ren. So, like he said, we met him when he was an adult, but you know, if we try to go back a little chronologically, young kid, probably in his mid to late teens. I don't know if we knew exactly how old he was, but
I don't know. Maybe I'm like DM Alex Damon. It's like, or look up his timeline.
If I had to guess, I'd say he was probably mid
12,
to late teens.
Yeah.
Maybe like middle of high school, end of high school age.
Yeah.
Who knows? So young kid, parents send him away.
Because they can't handle him.
Because they can't handle.
Because they send him away because they can't handle him. They see the darkness rising in him. They say there's just too much Vader in him.
He's just a little spicy boy.
Yeah, so they send him off of his uncle.
So they send him away to train as a Jedi to kind of hone his
power.
His urges and stuff. Wakes up one night to see his uncle with a wild look in his eyes about to kill him. Obviously, he's upset. He kills some of the other kids there, right?
Yeah, the trainees, yeah.
Killed some of the other trainees, and there were some others that he didn't kill, and they probably did some stuff together.
Yeah, because as far as we're going over broad strokes of the movies, because not everybody's familiar with. There's a comic book run that shows you the whole ordeal of him destroying the temple and going with these other students. I haven't read the comic book. Whatever. Sorry, oops. But yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say it with the Knights of Ren. He just went off with some kids and they decided to do some kid stuff.
Some kid stuff.
They decided to do some
little
stuff.
Young Thundercats.
Little young Thundercats out here thinking they run the streets.
Anyways.
So, this was, I'm sure, kind of the catalyst and the spark that he needed to turn to the dark side and decide that he wanted to finish what Vader started. He, gets taken in more or less by Snoke, and he is constantly harassed and belittled by Snoke. And as far as the movies are concerned, we never really saw much of that with Vader and Palpatine. But we, in the movies, see Snoke treat Ben like a piece of doo-doo. You know what I'm saying? Always pitting him in Hux against each other. And, it's not a good... It's pretty toxic. Yeah. So he's constantly harassed and belittled by his own master.
It's a toxic relationship.
There's a lot of toxic relationships in Star Wars. And he's always constantly... He's got a complex, too. He's also... always trying to prove that he's as strong as Vader, he's as dark as Vader, but at the same time, he also fully recognizes that he has a pull to the light that he struggles with, and he even tries to draw strength from his grandfather's essence to push him away from the
dark
light.
Side of his grandfather,
right?
Yeah.
Does he know that he died like a good dude?
I mean, he should.
I don't know if he read it in a book.
I mean, he should.
He should.
Because if Rey knows the story, why doesn't Ben Solo know the story?
Maybe he just didn't finish the chapters.
Maybe. I mean, because the person that Vader saved is being trained under, that's who's training Ben, is the person that Vader saved.
Maybe he's just forgetting.
Maybe he's just ignoring it.
Maybe
it's his own twisted mind. It's like, no, I'm not talking to Anakin Skywalker. I'm talking to my real grandfather, Darth Vader.
The cool one.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because the Vader and Anakin have always been sort of talked about like separate people.
Yeah.
Consumed by Vader, Anakin was.
Yeah.
And he's no longer Anakin Skywalker. He ceases to be Anakin Skywalker. He chooses to be Darth Vader.
Right.
So I think that's what Ben is like. No, I don't recognize Anakin Skywalker as my grandfather.
Right.
Darth Vader's my grandfather.
Right.
So.
Because I'm dark.
Yeah.
So. He later on confronts his father And in a moment where he's just like, I gotta prove how bad I am. I gotta prove I'm a bad bitch. Gotta prove. So he confronts his father, kills his father, to prove how bad he is and how dark he is, only to have it plunge him further into being conflicted and haunted. Because I mean, if he thought he was confused before, God, he was tortured after.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're Palpatine and you are just all bad, you could pretty much kill or do anything to anybody and not feel remorse.
Yeah.
But if you got a little bit of light in you and you do something like that, good luck. So he just falls deeper into madness after killing his dad, trying to constantly prove himself to himself and to everybody around him. Because, you know, when you got Snoke constantly telling you what a little you are, then he finally meets somebody in Rey that he thinks that he can take with him, have him join her so he can overthrow his master.
Somebody they can trust and confide in.
Exactly. Yeah. And make dark with him. She rejects him. Obviously makes him mad. At one point, he almost kills his own mother, but in a moment of confusion and conflict, takes his finger off the button, only to watch the rest of his guys basically almost kill her. And plunge her into space. Later on, he manages to kill his own master, tries to bring Rey back to him again. He gets rejected again by the person that he thinks is like his person. Makes him more mad. He obsessively tries to convert Rey, and since Snoke is gone, he finds himself under the clutches of Palpatine. Eventually.
He's been under control.
Well, yeah, because he created Snoke
and
all that stuff. Later on, at one point, he's fighting Rey in The Rise of Skywalker. He almost overpowers her, but in that moment, Leia reaches out to him and dies in the process. He feels his own mother die just in the moment that he's mortally wounded and is about to die. He's healed by Rey, but now lives with the knowledge that his mom never lived to see him be redeemed. She hasn't even seen him since she sent him away. At least Han got to see, put his own eyes on his own son's face before he killed him. But now he has to live with the knowledge that his mom never got to see him, never got to see him redeemed. His father never got to see him redeemed because, yes, he was there, but he's
a memory.
He's a memory. He wasn't really actually there. So now you got to live with the memory that both of your parents are dead because of you. One of them, you killed them, and one of them gave up their life to reach you. They don't even know if they're going to save you, just to try. Just to reach you. And now your mom's dead because you were out here doing bad stuff. So now both of your parents are dead, and it's your fault. Kylo Ren, that was really aggressive. I feel like that was really aggressive to point at the camera and say, sorry. Talking to Kylo Ren. He finally turns to the light, ends up saving Rey, and just like Vader, his last act of goodness saves somebody else, but ends up killing him. The one thing that you said before that made me think of Kylo Ren is that you were saying that one of the lessons we learned from Vader is how you need to let go. And I thought it was ironic that Kylo Ren tells Rey to let go, even though he can't even follow his own advice and hangs on to everything. So I thought that was kind of ironic that he yells at her to just let go and let the past die, even though he can't even do that.
And I think speaking on that, like, you know, the lesson of Anakin Skywalker's story is to let go of things sometimes. You can't always control things. So just, you know, don't be so beholden to what you want. Just if it doesn't happen, just, you know, it's fine. If it doesn't happen sometimes. The lesson with Kylo is to not only let go, but to learn from your mistakes. He's constantly saying, let the past die. It is what it is, so just throw it out. We don't need it anymore. It's like, no, the lesson you should learn is sometimes things happen because you need to learn from them. And that's the lesson that he fails to learn. Is like, he's so like, all right, so my parents don't want me, I'm just going to get rid of them. It's like, no, look back on that. Why did they let you go? Why did they give you to Luke? Because they couldn't handle you. It's not just because like, no, we don't want you. It's like, no, we want you to learn. And that's something that he's looking back on. It's like, no, they don't want me, so I don't want them. And it's just learn from the past. That's his biggest flaw, is not not looking back on what he's experienced.
Don't kill the past, learn from it.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, he just wants to like just forget about it, kill it. You don't need it. It's like, no, you need the past. You don't need to hold on to it, but you need to at least see what was happening in those moments and learn to move forward with them.
Yeah,
and that's his biggest flaw. So now that we know the stories of Anakin Skywalker and Ben Solo,
there's probably little things I left out, but those are the big things.
Yeah, those are broad strokes.
Very broad strokes.
I have my thoughts. I was going before we had this conversation. I was going like, ooh, well, there's a lot of stuff that Anakin went through, and there's a lot of stuff that Ben went through. Obviously, we have 6 films plus the Clone Wars animated series to show what Anakin Skywalker's overarching story is. There's a lot of stuff about Anakin Skywalker. We only have 3 movies with Ben.
Yeah.
Essentially. And and in the very first movie we see him, we only see half his journey. Mm-hmm. So we'll take that with a grain of salt. And whose story do you think is more tragic?
Do you want to say it at the same time?
You go first.
Or do you? Okay.
Who do you think has the more tragic story?
It's a very tough, it's very close. They both have horrible stories.
Yeah.
But I made the tough decision that I think that Ben has the more tragic story.
I think so too.
Aww.
I think Ben has the more tragic story. I mean, yeah, Anakin went through what he goes through is very tragic. Losing your mother, leaving your mother at a young age, and then losing her
in your arms
10 years later in your own arms. That's some really tragic stuff. But from again, like you said, your perception sort of makes your reality.
Yeah, he kind of did a lot of it to himself.
Yeah, exactly. Anakin is. Not everybody trusts him. Everybody's looking at him like, you're the one that we trust, and he turns on everybody.
Yeah.
Ben Solo, it seems from his perception that everybody is already against him.
Yeah.
Just look at what he goes through. It's like, oh, my parents don't trust me, and they're just sending me away. They don't even want to try to deal with me. So they're just sending me away. Mm-hmm. I wake up to the person that they didn't trust me to, and he's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't need him. I'm gonna go leave him because my uncle wants to kill me. He turns himself over to this master that he's like, okay, this person knows what's best for me, and he constantly berates him.
Yeah,
never gives him an inch.
No.
And it's just like, no, you're and basically from Ben's perspective, his entire story is you're never good enough.
Right.
You are never good enough. You will never be good enough, and you'll always play second fiddle to.
Whoever else I feel like pitting you against.
Yes, like
meanwhile, Anakin from 9 years old is like, you're God's given gift
you're the best.
to the galaxy.
Yeah. And it's just like, and what is it? What happens out of it? He ends up killing almost everybody. He's almost the cause of his uncle's death. He is literally the cause of his father's death.
Yep.
And like he just, from his own point of view, it's like nobody trusts me. Nobody can, and the person that he finally does meet that he thinks he can trust
rejects him
a
couple times.
Yeah, a couple times. And at the end of the last Skywalker, nobody believes in him. Nobody. And his mom has given up on him. The person he trusts, that he tried to entrust most, literally shuts the door on him.
Yeah.
And says, nope, I don't need you. I don't want you. So at this point, he's at his lowest.
Yeah.
And it's just like, God, how do you, like, I know Anakin has some really, really horrible stuff, but like I want to see, knowing that where he is when we meet him in The Force Awakens, you already know that he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Just like personally, like, yeah, Anakin has killed a lot of people and done some horrible things, but I think Ben's story is just so like,
he's so helplessly tragic.
Yeah, it's like from the moment we meet him, it's nothing but heartbreak.
Yeah.
It's nothing. We've seen Anakin Skywalker, and in his prime, basically as a Jedi. It's like, oh, I have a secret wife. It's all good.
Yeah.
I have recovered from my mom's death. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
cruising through Coruscant, getting into hijinks with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly. But we've never really seen Ben Solo happy-go-lucky Ben Solo. We get glimpses of him in novels and stuff. It's like, oh. But like from the very start, it's like you're not good enough for this. You're and even in Force Awakens, like you'll never be as strong as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So it's always him trying to prove himself to everybody, and almost every time he fails at it.
And he gets stomped down.
Stomped back down.
We got to see Kylo Ren and Ben Solo smile once.
Yeah. And
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like because again, we've seen more of Anakin. and like he's at least have a couple of years of happiness with Padme, and like we see him be happy. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna be a father. Oh man, I'm gonna be a dad. This is the happiest moment of my life. We see one glimpse of happiness with Ben Solo.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Exactly.
So it's like, oof.
And the other thing that makes me one of the deciding factors for me, even a bigger, broader stroke than what you were just saying, is that with Anakin, and again, not trying to say that I know that these are fake people. Let me just get that
fictional characters.
Let me get that out of the way. But not that I'm trying to like devalue Anakin's experience in this world, but like Anakin didn't have a father, never knew a father.
Yeah, that's another
so
good point.
like he lost his mom. How do I articulate what I'm trying to say? Like he only ever had his mom, and then he lost her. And it wasn't like he lost her because he killed her. Other people did that to her, which is still horrible. And then, like you said, the rest of the stuff that happens, kind of by his own hand.
Yeah.
Just from being a young, stupid, impressionable kid and making not so great decisions.
Yeah.
Ben, on the other hand, Ben, on the other hand, like you said, the moment we see him, it's tragedy. And the moment we see him, it's sadness and heartbreak. And, and if I'm putting myself in their shoes, if I'm Ben Solo and I'm lucky enough to have both of my parents, I'm lucky enough to have both parents and an uncle, and they all want the best for me. And they're all trying to look out for me. And then, Han and Leia die because of him.
Yeah.
Imagine living with the knowledge of both your parents are gone because you did it. Luke, on the other hand, you know what? Luke died because of him too. Because Luke died fending him off to save other people. So essentially, Kylo Ren fed into Luke's death too.
Yeah.
So it's just like everyone around him dies because of him. And I just can't imagine I can't imagine all those family members dying. Only and all they died knowing you, this horrible, terrible human being. And then you finally get to a moment where you're redeemed. And you just in the back of your mind, you know that the horrible part of you is all they ever that's what they died knowing. And like I can't imagine being on my own deathbed and knowing that my family thought that way about me, you know what I'm saying? And also Vader, when he got redeemed, at least he was kind of in his own family's arms. He was in his son's arms. When Ben died, yeah, sure, Rey was there, but none of his family was there because he pushed them all away / killed them. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but like, I don't know. I think Ben's story is the more tragic one because he was just a helpless kid that just couldn't catch a break. And I don't really think any of it was his fault. Anakin, the beginning of it wasn't his fault. Yeah. But then the rest of it was kind of like, bro, just make better decisions. Yeah. And like realize when you're being manipulated. I feel like at one point he knew he was being manipulated and still did it. Like when he Mace Windu out the window, he knew that was wrong. But he still went with it.
He even said like, what have I done?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He knew it was wrong. Ben, there's nothing he could have done. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, from his perspective, he thinks he's doing what's right. It's like, well, nobody believes in me, so I don't need them.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine living with the knowledge of knowing that you're the reason for basically all of your family being dead. Yeah. And Vader, Anakin, he didn't kill any of his family. His mom died because of somebody else. Padme, sure, arguably, he is the indirect cause of her death. But that's, Ben's got some other baggage going on.
So I'm sure there are plenty of people that disagree with us. I just think from my perspective, looking at these two characters, I think Ben's story is more tragic.
I feel it is too. They're both horrific.
They're very, I mean,
I wouldn't want to be either of them.
You can even throw Luke in because, like, you can throw Luke into this conversation and saying, "Yep, the story of the Skywalker lineage is tragedy." Because look at Luke's story. when we see him in it's like, yeah, he finds out that his father is like one of the most hated men in the galaxy, but he redeems him. But then he gets entrusted with his nephew, who he almost kills, and then he just throws himself into exile because of it.
Yeah.
So that's a tragic story in itself. But again, I think we wanted to compare the two Skywalkers that actually fell to the dark side.
Yeah.
So.
And Ben, I mean,
yeah.
The fact that, like you said, all we saw was 3 movies, and it was just packed with tragedy.
Yeah.
And granted, it's because we got to see Anakin from a much younger age, so we did get to see the arc.
Yeah.
But it was just Ben's tragedy was just so condensed into 3 movies that it was just hard to ignore how much that guy went through.
Yeah.
And I really I feel like Anakin did a lot of it to himself.
So those are our thoughts on who has a more tragic story. Let us know in the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, who you think has the more tragic story. I'm pretty sure almost everybody's going to disagree with us.
Well, I think it's a well accepted fact that Vader has one of the most tragic stories in probably all of cinema.
Yeah.
Which I do agree with, but when I really sat down and thought about this, I was like, but Ben.
Yeah.
My God. I mean, and it's not all Anakin's fault. Let me make that clear too. I don't,
Yeah,
he was manipulated. They were both manipulated by horrible people.
They both got played by the same person.
Yeah, they were both exploited their entire lives. I mean, even the Jedi weren't looking to exploit him. Yeah. They were just looking to train him. But, they were both exploited their entire lives for their power and manipulated in it. That's terrible. But
yeah, I mean... Yeah. So, those are our thoughts on who has the most tragic story out of the 2 Skywalker boys. But we do have a Patreon question from our one of our squadron captains. Squadron captains that are members of our Patreon $10 tier get to dictate the conversation on our weekly shows. We have one message from Squadron Captain
Ferris Muthana.
Ferris Muthana.
Heck yeah. He says, "Hey Andrew and Nikki, it's Ferris. Longtime fan. My question is, I have always been intrigued with the criminal underworld in Star Wars, like Jabba and stuff with the underworld footage leaking months ago. Do you think we will go there in the future, and what aspects would you like to see? P.S. Andrew, I love you."
Thank you, Ferris.
That's so cute.
So, you're not familiar with the underworld
no,
at all.
Not
I mean,
really.
It's basically like like what it is, like the crime syndicates and
the underbelly.
Crimson Dawn, the Hutt Clan. There's other ones.
The Pikes.
The Pike Syndicate. The Sons. What's the other one? I know.
Of Anarchy.
No. There's another one. I'm forgetting. The name escapes me right now. But there's several crime syndicates that sort of. They do shady stuff around the galaxy in league with the Empire. It's like
running spice.
Yeah, that's one of the things they do. But trafficking, arms dealing, it's just shady stuff. And like the Empire almost does it along with them. They're like, yeah, you do you.
It's all a machine, brother.
Yeah. So, but like what Ferris is talking about, there's this leak, this the test footage they did for this one on this. It was supposed to be the first live action Star Wars TV show that Lucas was producing. But when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, it went by the wayside, and it's not. But I do think we're going to revisit this. I would like to, because now that the Skywalker saga is concluded, I still think we have some things that I would like to see happen with the Skywalker story. But this is a side of Star Wars that we don't get to see very often. We saw a little bit in Solo, with the whole deal with Crimson Dawn and Beckett, Tobias Beckett. You'll get there.
Let me get there. Lady Proxima.
Yeah,
and her people too.
Yeah, the White Worms, and there's all these small little pockets of crime syndicates, and then there's the larger ones.
Yeah.
So I think we should get there, because I would love to see like the normal people get caught up in get stuck and caught up with the Pike Syndicate or Crimson Dawn. It's like, oh, you owe us now, so you got to run this job for us or something.
Yeah.
And it's just I would love to see that.
Kind of like, weren't we watching Kira and Han get wrapped up in it?
Yeah, exactly. So something like that, but with characters we've never met before.
Yeah, okay.
Brand new characters. Maybe the lower levels of Coruscant. We get to see it a little bit in season 7 of Clone Wars. We see a little bit in a couple of novels here and there. But I would like to see that of people just trying to make a living, but they just can't get help get wrapped up in the syndicates.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's always fun to get one of those like gritty, nasty, dark kind of looks into things. So I'd be interested. I'd be down because it was fun seeing, Han and Kira running around on Corellia, getting chased and everything. So yeah, I'd be down for something like that.
What would you want to see though? Like, would you want to maybe like with bounty hunters, pirates, smugglers?
What's a pirate in Star Wars?
I mean,
that's not like a vast B timbers.
It's basically the same thing as a pirate, what we're familiar with pirates just with space. Space pirates, basically.
Bounty hunters, please.
Bounty hunter? You would like to see bounty hunters?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of see that with a couple of things here and there with Clone Wars with God, why am I blanking on his name?
Do I know him?
No, you don't know him.
Oh.
He's a Clone Wars character. His name escapes me right now, but like we've seen bounty hunters, we've seen what they do. I would like to see something like, I don't know, like a normal dude just wants to get off the planet, and it's like he has no other choice but to get wrapped up in a world of crime. And then we see him go through all this stuff, and now he wants nothing to get out or something like that. This I know it sounds like a cliche thing, like, oh, the crime guy wants to go straight. I'd like to see that in Star Wars.
Maybe he's trying to support his family, but he needs to save his family. I mean, it's a trope that we've seen a lot.
It's a trope, but I would like to see that spun in Star Wars.
I mean, isn't every story based on some other story at this point?
I would like to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think we will eventually get there.
It might be better suited for a TV series at this point than a movie.
I think so too. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, like a mini series. Because like, where was I going with this? Yeah, because right now, because we got the announcement of the Bad Batch, the High Republic is coming eventually with the novels and stuff. Just right now, I think they're concentrating on too many other things that don't deal with that. But I think maybe in the next year or two, we'll probably get there. When they run out of like just materials, like what do you want to tell next? Well, we have this Underworld thing sitting here. Let's go ahead and dive. And for all I know, they might be doing like, yeah, we have that on the back burner. It's just right now we need to focus on High Republic, Bad Batch, Obi-Wan series, Cassian Andor. Maybe we get to see a little bit of the Underworld with Cassian Andor, because he has a deal with shady people all the time, like informants, and things like that. So I think if anything, you bring in with Cassian, and then you spin off other characters from that. You introduce new characters in Cassian that he has to deal with, and then you spin them off into their own little series.
And I think also really cool. Thinking about remember when in Solo when we first go to Savareen and Enfys Nest.
You got there eventually.
Wow. And Enfys Nest is like, that old lady draws the symbol and like she starts telling them, they cut people's tongues out and blah blah blah, and she starts giving this like backstory on Crimson Dawn and how they
became Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, how they became Crimson Dawn and how they just used and abused all over the galaxy. That could be a fun thing to delve into as well.
Yeah, I mean that'd be great. I'm up for it. Anything. I haven't really seen anything in Star Wars. I'm like, no, that's a dumb idea.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed. Again, I'm a very forgiving Star Wars fan.
As long as it's Star Wars,
it's
probably going to be enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean the only things that I'm not really caught up on are the comic books, and it's because it's just so hard to keep up with those.
Yeah,
it's just so hard. But yeah, I think. But yeah. So thank you. I was going to wrap up the show, but thank you to Ferris.
Our brains aren't working today for some reason.
No idea. It wasn't. It was it was Ferris, right?
Ferris. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Ferris, for that.
Thanks, Ferris.
Question.
You're a bro.
Before my brain just stops working.
Listen, Andrew, his brain got knocked out of commission last night. He got hit with allergies hard.
Oh yeah.
So we're lucky he's actually conscious today. So he was really close to not being conscious yesterday.
Thank goodness. But anyways, I think we're going to wrap the show up right here. Nicki Dimalanta, where can they find you online?
With hers. On Twitter at Dimmy, DIMMMYYY.
As for me, you can also find me on Twitter and Twitch at Drew Dimalanta, DIMALANTA. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification or bell icon to be notified when new videos go up. We just recorded a Schmodown play-along. That should be up for patrons right now. Speaking of patrons, patreon.com/Andrew and Nicki to become a member of the squadron. Thank you to our squadron captains for your support. Tamor Butter, Ferris Mathana, Bedor and Bedor.
Bedor.
We actually learned how to pronounce your name properly, and Josh Estes.
Yes.
Thank you to our squadron captains for your continued support. Anything else I'm forgetting to plug? No?
No.
I think that's it. So
I think so.
with that, we will end this episode of Going Rogue. May the Force be with you. Always.